everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I thought we would do a back garden tour. It is spring and it is such a beautiful day. It is sunny and a little bit breezy, but we can't complain because we've had a long winter, very gray, very rainy. We even had some snow, and here we have a gorgeous spring day. Cherry blossom season is here. You can see behind me those beautiful pink blooms are cherry blossoms. Next to my shed we also have a pear tree which is full of blossoms as well. Just panning next to that, the shorter tree is the apple blossoms. So it's just a wonderful time of year, and the spring blooms are so fleeting, so I thought we would try to capture some of those on this video and take a look at what's blooming in the spring garden, and then hopefully compare it till next year and take a look at what's different. But last year I did plant a bunch of blooms or a bunch of plants in hopes of kind of bumping up my spring bloom game, and it's definitely paid off. So I'm excited to show you that. I'd say that my winners have been Spot On Pulmonaria. That has just been a standout. It's been blooming for weeks in my spring garden. And in addition to that, I think Bleeding Heart is one of my other favorites. Like, such a unique flower, just comes along and then gone in the heat of the summer, but just unique, amazing blooms that just, you can't help but stop and stare at it. So those are my two favorites, but let me show you everything that's coming up, all the new shoots and things. It's super exciting to see. And what else did I want to let you know? Oh yes, so I had some audio problems with the tour, so I'm going to be doing it by voiceover, so hopefully that isn't too jarring. But yeah, let's take a look at the back garden in spring. So we're starting in the side garden here, and you can see the new wall that was put in. This retaining wall was replacing an old wooden retaining wall that was made out of railway ties, and that was over 20 years old and it was falling apart. But here you can see my Bloodgood Japanese maple looking gorgeous. It survived, which I'm very thankful for. It's looking beautiful. I really love that color. It is just doing really well. And it was underplanted with 4 hostas, and I believe this is a wild rose heuchera, and it looks like some of my hostas here are coming back, so that's a nice surprise. I see some shoots coming up. We can just take a little bit of a close-up to see the shoots. Here you can see there's a few there, and on this side as well there's a few shoots coming up here as well. And these were fairly established hostas, but I'm very impressed. They're very tough plants coming back through everything that they went through. And there's a lot of moss in this bed, a lot of weeds, so it has some work to be done. On one side I've got this, I think it's a heucherella coming back here, and there was one of these on each side, but I think it's just coming back on the one side, but it's quite small. And of course the wild rose is looking gorgeous with fresh leaves popping up, and on both sides of that I also had hosta. So on that side is the water slide hosta from Peruvian Winners, and I can see some shoots coming up, so that's survived, which is really nice. And on this side is another one, I can't recall the name, but these are the old stems that I kind of leave to mark the fact that there's a hosta there. And there's a tiny, tiny stem, so hopefully that one comes back as well. And of course there's horsetail weed and creeping buttercup, so a lot of work to be done in terms of weeding. So this garden tour is just, as it is, nothing has been done really. And panning across the side yard here, we have this shrub border. So I tried to break up this wall and put some shrubs in front of it just because there will be a fence going up, so it's nice to kind of break it up. So this I believe is a rhododendron. It's either that or azalea. I'm surprised it hasn't bloomed yet, but it does have these buds, and it blooms this bright fuchsia color, which is very vibrant, especially in a shady area. So yes, right now this is sunny. There will be a fence going up between the neighbor's property and ours, so I'm not sure if that sun will be there always. But here we have this boxwood in the middle, and I have one on each side of this red twig dogwood. And that boxwood was like a rescue. It was going to be thrown away by a Home Depot, so I just thought I'd give it a try and see if it worked, and just as an experiment. But this is a mixed shrub border, but I do have some repeats. So I have this willow here that you can see, and I have one of those on each side. And then I also have 2 boxwood, and those are kind of symmetrical, and the red twig dogwood is being flanked by those two shrubs on each side. So a little bit of symmetry there. And the red twig dogwood is getting quite big, quite large. I have not cut out any of the old branches yet, but you can see it still has really good color. It's nice and tall, getting really big. It blooms these white flowers. So as soon as it blooms, I might be trimming that down a bit and cutting out some of the older stems. And just panning down, you see my other boxwood, which is a little bit smaller than the one before it, but eventually they'll probably be around the same size. Just with pruning, you can kind of do that. And here I have the other willow, which is doing well. So this area is pretty wet and damp, so I think it's something that willows do really well in. And also I did have other hostas and ajuga, which is a ground cover, in this bed, but they seem to have not come back. And I had some ferns as well, some Japanese ferns, and there's no sign of those. So unfortunately, it looks like I lost those plants. But overall, I think, the wall looks much better, and once the fence goes up, there'll be some more privacy, which will be nice. Swinging around to this garden bed, there's not much that returned. Unfortunately, I did have a generous gardener rose here, which is gone, and it was underplanted with some astilbe that hasn't returned. But the dwarf Alberta spruce is looking great. You can see all of this new growth on there with this kind of vibrant, bright green color. That's all new growth this year. And it's doing well. You can see all these tips of it. Very interesting. I like that pyramidal shape, that kind of perfect Christmas tree shape. You can prune these to keep them smaller if you like. And panning back, I have a bobo hydrangea there. That looks like it's surviving. Maybe not thriving, but at least it survived. There's some green on it, so that's good. I did have a bunch of hostas, Pulmonaria, some coral bells, like one called Saturn, I believe, that hasn't come back. But yes, this one is showing signs of life, so that needs to be pruned just a little bit more. But it's nice to see that bobo hydrangea is surviving. And you can see underneath it, I do have some of the ajuga that did make it, the area that was less kind of impacted, I guess. And I do have some plantings there, some onyx and pearls penstemon, which I transplanted last fall, winter. So that was just kind of for symmetry because I have it on the other side as well. So hopefully that takes. And just swinging around, it looks like I do have one hosta coming back by my dwarf Alberta spruce. However, I had many more, but at least this one is coming back, so that's something. And you can see all the weeds are coming up right through my ground cover, which is annoying, but this hasn't been weeded yet. And here we have a astilbe. That looks like it's coming back. No signs of my anemones, unfortunately, so that looks like those are not going to be coming back. But anyways, a lot of work to be done in this garden bed. It was destroyed kind of last year when this wall was being built. So I did lose a lot of plants, but you know what? There's an opportunity here. So let's try to make the best of it and do some work and make it look great again. And on this side, I have two pots of this panicle hydrangea. It could be phantom, but I have them flanking both sides of the shed here. And this one is doing okay. They've been here for a few years, but the one on the other side, unfortunately, looks like it has seen better days. The pot kind of cracked when the door swung open and hit it in the winter, so that pot cracked. I kind of turned it around to hide it, but basically the crack in the pot has kind of meant that I'm going to have to put this in the ground, which I'm not too mad about because I do think that it'll do much better in the ground and I won't have to water it so much because watering in containers, of course, they dry out much more quickly. So that might be a bit of a relief after all. And swinging back at the wall, I'm thinking about putting it in this garden bed here, maybe in the place that I had my generous gardener rose against the wall, but it gets more sun at the edge by the sidewalk. And once the fence goes up, I don't know what the sun situation will be in this garden bed. So I have to keep that in mind. And swinging around, so this little backyard here, this is you can see the cherry blossom tree in the background there, which is a borrowed view. It's just so beautiful. It is cherry blossom season, so it is just a wonderful time of year when you see all these cotton candy type blooms everywhere. And this narrow garden bed is one that I kind of put in late last year. I put in some Pulmonaria. It's called Shrimp on the Barbie, and it is this bubblegum pink color, which is just beautiful. This Pulmonaria also has some purple in it, but I really like this Pulmonaria. It's very different and unique. Most of the other Pulmonaria I have is Spot On, which is the deep blue purple color. And here we have just this pop of bubblegum pink. And I have them on both ends, so I really like that. And I can see that Pulmonaria do well in my yard because my yard is very wet. We have a lot of rain in winter, so this kind of floods almost. So it's good to see that Pulmonaria don't have any problem with that. And you can also see the penstemon that's self-seeded all over. So that's clearly very happy in its spot. So it's good to know what plants do well in your yard so you can replant them. And also I do have a pink fizz heucherella here, as well as some astilbe in the middle. And I did put some astilbe, or not astilbe, ajuga in as a kind of a living mulch there. So it's blooming, it's this beautiful color. So it's nice to have that as a ground cover, as well as looks beautiful when it's blooming. And you can see I have my dwarf Alberta spruce there as well. And this garden bed, I have so much work to do in this one. But anyways, this one has some phlox, Glamour Girl phlox. It has a bobo hydrangea. It has a sarcocoa or Himalayan sweet box. There's a hosta in the corner there. And I have a stilbe, as well as some catmint, I believe. So this garden bed is pretty packed full, but just needs some cleanup. And you can see this beautiful plant here, which is stealing the show. It's Pulmonaria, Spot On Lungwort. That is just such beautiful blooms, and I love that contrast with that heuchera behind it and the green of the boxwood. So this plant is obviously loving its life. And like I said, this is a very wet part of the yard, so this plant has no problem with that. And it's kind of part shade, part sun area. It's kind of shadowed by the house in the early hours and then get some sun in the afternoon. But this is a plant I definitely want to split and kind of spread all over my garden because it does do just so well. And, you know, when there's like almost nothing else blooming, this one is blooming it's blooming early in spring and it's blooming for a long time in spring. So I feel like you really get a good bang for your buck with that plant. And moving over, in this garden bed, we have some plants that I've overwintered. So those are in the proven winter cans there. So I have some salvia back there and some cherry truffles, heuchera, I believe. So those are not planted yet, but I just overwintered them because I got them on clearance last season. So I'll be putting them in this year. And here I have some more hydrangeas. I have some more astilbe, and the hydrangeas that I have on this side are mostly Little Lime Punch, but last year I did put in a Invincible Ruby as well. So we'll see how that does. That one was a clearance plant, and you can see my astilbe in this garden. I just have to actually cut back the old bloom stalks because all the new growth is coming, so I haven't done that yet. I believe I put some Grace Ward Lithodaria in this bed as well last year, so we'll see how that does. But you can see my Pulmonaria. I've dotted 3 of them in this garden bed, as well as I've popped in some Bleeding Heart. So this Pulmonaria as well, it's also spot on, looking great. And behind there is that old-fashioned Bleeding Heart. Really is just so eye-catching with the beautiful blooms, the beautiful foliage, just the lovely color, and such a unique flower. There is a little azalea in here, which I probably will transplant because I don't think I like it in there. But this bed also has all kinds of other perennials, like shade perennials, such as we have Lady's Mantle, Alchemilla mollis, and we have, what else do we have? We have a fern there in the background as well. So that's slowly coming back. And you can see my hydrangea have put on new growth, so that's exciting. And again, I keep getting drawn to the bleeding heart because it is so beautiful and it doesn't last that long. It's gone by summer. But I hope this one just kind of takes and gets bigger and bigger. I really want this garden bed to fill out. And it does have a lot going on, but you know, you have to have blooms in spring. And then once they kind of die back or fade, then the summer blooming comes in. And those are for example, the lady's mantle have beautiful yellow blooms. The hydrangeas have beautiful blooms as well that last all through summer. So that's why there's so much, looks like there's so much going on in here. Also, I feel like the more I plant, the less weeds there are. So I don't want to leave any space for weeds. So here I'm showing you this little fern coming back. Some of the ferns they come back really slowly and they don't put on a lot of size, but they're there. I've also got this Jacob's Ladder Heaven Scent popped in throughout this bed as well as I'm showing you, that's the Jacob's Ladder there. This is the bloom, it's got the buds on it, so it should be blooming soon. So it's nice to have those kind of staggered blooms with the Pulmonaria and the Bleeding Heart, and then the Jacob's Ladder and the summer blooming annuals or perennials. And moving along, we have some more Pulmonaria, more old-fashioned Bleeding Heart. And I don't remember everything in this garden bed until it blooms, we'll find out. But here we have a Winecraft Black Smoke Bush, which I was a little bit concerned about. It wasn't looking great, but it looks like there is some new growth. So that's good news. It doesn't look like it's dead, so that's great. And hopefully it will flush out. I kept it in a kind of a part shade area because I don't want it to get huge. And here I have one of my favorite shade perennials. That's a Brunnera. And you can see it's got these beautiful blue blooms, very delicate blue blooms. And I would have this all over my garden if I could. It just doesn't do that well in my yard. I think it doesn't like wet feet. So where the Pulmonaria thrive in kind of damper conditions, it looks like Brunnera doesn't. And here I'm showing you an Alba Bleeding Heart, a white Bleeding Heart, which I did pop in, but to be honest, I'm more of a fan of the old-fashioned one. And this vibrant green shrub here is the Proudberry Coralberry. That one is doing really great, looks really healthy. I'm very pleased with how that is doing. I haven't pruned it or anything, and it just is looking wonderful. So hopefully we get some berries on that. I have no idea what that plant is. It could be a weed, but it's very interesting looking. So I'm going to leave it for now and see what happens. This was my shade garden last year that I put in, and all this mess is because of the wall that went in. They had to put those posts somewhere, so they put them here. So it's kind of a jumping area because it's out of sight, but I'll have to clean that up this year. But this shade garden, the star of the show has kind of been the hellebore or Lenten rose, which has been blooming for weeks as well. And here we have some hosta coming back. You can see the stalk there, as well as there's the astilbe. We have a fern, then the hellebore, as well as all of the ajuga ground cover. And then I also have the stonecrop Angelina sedum ground cover. But really the ajuga is which is blooming now. Those are the bloom stalks. It's really quite a striking. The ajuga is quite a striking ground cover. This is the Burgundy Glow variety of ajuga, and you can see it spread nicely, which is what I wanted, especially along that sidewalk there. It's pretty tough to plant, and so it's doing really well. And I've tried different ground covers in this area. I've tried that Angelina stonecrop sedum you see here, that bright chartreuse as well. And that I've tried because it is a dry shade area. So I was thinking if the ajuga doesn't take, that one definitely will. And going back, you see another ground cover here, that bright silvery foliage. That is lamium.
and that one is just a bright pop of color and it blooms beautifully. So I've popped that in a couple areas back here as well, because this is going to spread, but not in a bound area. I'm showing you this Heucherella, which was citronelle or citronella, I can't remember the name. But this one, you can see it looks like it's reverting, because on the bottom, those leaves, the green ones, are what it originally looked like when I planted it. But you can see all the new growth up top is like this red color. So I don't know if that's normal, if it fades to that green color, but it's very interesting to see. And either way, I love it. So I think it's cool just to see that. Very interesting. So I'm not mad about it, but unique, something to see. And you can see the lamium is spreading there as I wanted. And of course it is invasive in some places, not for me. It's very easy to control, especially when I put it in an area like this where it's kind of bound by, you know, a wall on one side, a sidewalk on the other, and it's quite a restricted space. So I'm not worried about it kind of taking over my yard, but you know, that is a concern for some people. And behind there you see this silver gumdrop heuchera, which is a proven winners variety. Oh, I'm showing you this small little heuchera, which I think might be another citronelle or citronella, but it's very small, so I don't know if it's going to survive, but it is coming back, so that's good. And the silver gumdrop heuchera is beautiful. So I was testing it to see if it would make it. It has made it, and it's looking great. It's got this beautiful silvery overlay over the purple leaves, so I love it. That's the only one I have of that variety in my garden, so I will definitely be adding more now that I know it has survived a winter in my backyard here. And back there, it looks like that's a hosta coming up. So that's, I believe, a royal standard, if I recall correctly. And then back behind there is more lamium. You can see a little pink bloom on there. And that hopefully will spread. Behind there is another citronelle heucherella. And then in the corner there, which is a very tough spot, is that Angelina stonecrop, which is an evergreen, and hopefully we'll take care of that area. And of course, I've got to do the cleanup back here and make it organized and tidy, but that's some project for another day. And you can see this looks like it's a fern there, which, you know, it's ferns do really well for us. We're in the Pacific Northwest, and ferns grow all over the place. They are native here, and they're in all of our forests, so I think that one will just be fine eventually. And then there is another old-fashioned bleeding heart popping up there and looking beautiful in that dappled shade there. And walking back over under the trees, so this garden bed, you can see I have another Pulmonaria, and this is Hawkinacloa all gold grass, which I planted a bunch of them in the garden last year. I don't know if it's made it or not. This is looking pretty rough, and probably needs to be cut back, and we'll see if it grows up fresh, hopefully, fingers crossed. This orange heucherella is the pumpkin spice, which I love, but doesn't do as well for me in my yard. And let's see if it comes back. And there's another all gold Hawkinacloa behind the tree there. And this is a lilac here. It's a Miss Kim lilac. I have this shrub. I have two of them in this garden bed, one on each side. And unfortunately, you know, it hasn't bloomed for me. So very minimal blooms last year, very, very few. I don't see any buds this year. And I'm a little bit worried because I thought, okay, I'll let it sleep, creep, and leap. And it's supposed to leap by now, but not really. And I'm thinking maybe it's because of, maybe it's just doesn't get enough sun under the trees. The trees are deciduous. So my theory was that, you know, they will already have put on kind of the buds by the time the trees leaf out. But maybe not. Maybe it's not enough sun. So I might have to relocate that, unfortunately. But they are kind of big plants, so that's kind of a big job. And you see I have in the back, I have those two red mahogany monster, I believe, heuchera, which are looking good. They're nice vibrant spots in the back there. And the plant that does really well in this garden bed is that autumn joy sedum, which is that I'm showing you the pumpkin spice heucherella here. So that is a favorite, but very hard to get to return. So I think I had at least 3 and now I only have 1. But the mahogany monsters seem to do really well. And I've got 2 of those. You can see all the fresh new growth. And then the autumn joy sedum there that I just pointed out is really doing amazing in this garden bed. I did split it, so I have one on the other side that's a lot smaller. But these are easy to propagate and you don't have to water them very much. They have succulent type leaves, so they do well in this kind of drier area. So I might have to spread that out and add more of that in this garden bed here, because once you figure out what does well, then you can definitely add more of it. I did plant some daffodils here, which I hope will kind of multiply and naturalize. I did cut them for a bouquet, but they're beautiful. I think they're the bridal crown variety. So we'll see if they come back. Again, there's an issue of will they get enough sun? So it's kind of an experiment to see if they will bloom and get enough sun here and naturalize. And I have 2 black pearl heuchera here. You can see one is doing much better than the other. I have no idea why. They're in almost the same location, so that's interesting. One is much smaller. But I did realize, like, when you're looking out of the window from the back of the house, it's kind of hard to see the black pearl just because it is so similar to the color of the soil or the mulch when that gets put in. So the mahogany monster really are quite a bit brighter and stand out from a distance. So definitely I think that's the way to go. I love the black pearl, but you know, it just doesn't pop as much as the other colors. And here I have a kind of a ground cover that I planted quite a while ago. It's a stone crop, and you can see some of the weeds growing in there that have to be pulled. But I wanted to put something kind of easy maintenance around the base of the tree. Here it looks like I have foxglove coming up, which I transplanted. So we'll see. Again, I don't know if it will bloom. It should bloom because it's a biennial, and this will be year 2. So hopefully we some bloom stalks on that. And I don't remember what I planted back behind this, or between the 2 sedum there against the wall. So it looks like not much, but maybe hosta. So we'll see. I find that hosta require more water, and this is kind of a dry shade area, so it's not the best location for hosta, but it might be a good place to try that Brunnera, which requires kind of drier area. So maybe that's something I can try there for a silver pop of foliage. And here is my apple tree. I'm just panning up to show you the apple blossoms. They are just this beautiful color of this blush pink, kind of just start out with the buds being a darker pink and then blowing out into the flowers of this just barely touched pink. So let's do a close-up on these beautiful buds and flowers. Here we do have a cherry tree. This is not an ornamental cherry, so its blossoms are not as showy as the ornamental cherry. But here's a pear tree, and that's just absolutely loaded with blossoms as well. Those are white blossoms. And so we have a pear tree, a cherry tree, an apple tree, and this one is a plum tree. The plum tree, it just has a lot of water shoots. I trimmed off so many, and it still looks like it just didn't do any trimming, but definitely did. So we use that kind of as a privacy screen for the house behind there. So it does a great job as a privacy screen because it doesn't really produce many plums anymore. I don't know if there's, maybe it needs you know, a second plum tree nearby. But anyways, it used to produce tons of plums, but no longer. It could be, maybe it's too old now. But it is an interesting shape. This garden bed here is what I call my keyhole garden bed, and there is lots of interesting things in this garden bed. Last year we did add more to it, so you can see the kind of focal point of the garden bed is this pine, which is on standard there. It is a dwarf, so it's not going to get too big, but that is doing great. And in front of it I do have a hydrangea, a Miss Sayori hydrangea, and that's the one with the dark dark foliage. On either side, I have Limetta hydrangea, which is always looks horrible, looks like it died every year. It just looks like tiny brown sticks, and then it leaves out, so you can see it's leafed out quite nicely. So every year I'm excited to see that it survived. And last year I did pop in some Pulmonaria lungwort on either side there. You can see them in bloom. Looks wonderful and doing great. And on either side of that is that red mahogany monster, which is echoing the mahogany monster in the bed behind it. So it looks really good. It survived. That is a tough plant. It comes back. It survives. This is kind of on, it slopes downward from the yard, so it does get all the runoff. So it's a very wet area. And actually all the kind of compost mulch I was putting in was washing away, which is why I put that barrier at the back last year, which is that edging, that metal edging. And that seems to have helped somewhat. And on both sides, I kind of tried to keep it a little bit symmetrical. So, you know, I do have two of the mahogany monsters. I've got two of the lungwort there. I've got a couple of the, here is peonies. And they look like they might be different varieties. There's already buds on one of them. This one is a green color, and this one has more of a reddish burgundy color to the leaves. So I can't remember what variety they are, but we'll see when they bloom. So excited to see those blooms. And in this garden bed, I also have on both sides of the peonies, I've got the Amsonia, which is the proven winners variety, Storm Cloud. And it just disappears, and then it comes up as these shoots. So the shoots are this dark color, which I think are so exciting to see. And I'm just pointing out this Superbina pink cashmere, which overwintered for me. Surprisingly, I'm quite surprised to see that pink cashmere overwintered. I kind of popped it there because I had nowhere else to put it, and I didn't expect it to survive, but definitely it looks like it's made it. So we'll see if that blooms. So that's exciting. So that we can treat that as more of a perennial than an annual or kind of a temporary perennial. I did have some, what I'm pointing out here, I believe is the Limetta, the hydrangea, which has been here for quite a few years. It stays on the smaller side. I think that is definitely a Limetta that, you know, is not well known, but it should be. It's very, very, it's a small size. It's got beautiful mop head type blooms, and I don't know why it's not more popular. I did put some ajuga here in the corner, kind of as edging in the front, and you can see it's done well. It's blooming. That's that burgundy glow variety. I've got that on both sides as well, actually. And yeah, the Limetta I'm pointing out there. In front of that, I think I have some Honorine Jobert anemone, which I've popped in, which I popped in both sides. That looks like it did survive the winter, so good news there. You can see on this end of the garden bed is the same as kind of the other side with the Hakanakloa all gold and the ajuga in the corner there. And this bed does need to get some cleanup done. Haven't done that yet. So here's a close-up on the Amsonia. I just love those shoots. I think it's so pretty, that color. It's so unique. Like no other plant that I know of looks like that when it comes up. And it's hard to believe that's going to turn into this beautiful large plant with blue flowers, but that's what happens. So exciting to wait for that to come into fruition. And you can see I do have some moss in this garden bed, which shows you like how wet it gets. So yes, the cleanup still has to get done in this garden bed. And I'm going to have to give it a nice crisp edge and maybe top dress it with some compost. And yeah, I don't know if this all gold will come back. It's the first year I'm having this in my garden, and you can see it doesn't look great. So I'm hopeful that if I cut it back, then maybe it'll flush new growth. There is still like a little bit of color on it, so fingers crossed. It'd be really nice to have that color, kind of that pop of that bright yellow in this garden bed. I believe in front of here I have phlox. I can't remember exactly what I planted in the front here. I know I have some salvia there as well. So when that starts to come up and blooming, then we'll see what's there. But I have a lot in this garden bed, and I kind of follow the kind of clown college kind of design that Jim Putnam speaks about in his channel, where I have so many different varieties of plants. They say, like, you know, if you want something restful for the eye, just have 3 or 4 different types of plants, and that's it throughout your whole garden beds. But I just love having all this different variety. I haven't met like a lot of plants that I don't like, so I just enjoy having so many different varieties in my garden. And here I have some Angelina stonecrop popping up through the stones here, and that's just kind of popped up because it's come down from above and self-seeded itself, which is kind of cool. So that might be something that I just end up spreading into that dry shade garden bed under the trees. So this is an old kind of bird bath that cracked, and I filled it up with these succulents, and it survived the winter. You can see the stonecrop is looking a little worse for wear, but it has survived. And I have these red little rosettes here, which have done well. And of course, if I see like some kind of echeveria or something on clearance that's small, then maybe I will add that. I did have one in there that didn't look like it survived the winter, but those are something that, you know, rather than just throw this away, you can repurpose it and use it for something else, which is kind of low maintenance, and kind of set it and forget it, which is nice. And this garden bed, you can take a look. It's kind of what I call the long border. So it extends all the way to the back there. And we did have a fence behind it, which separated our property from our neighbors. But, you know, over time the fence rotted, and when it windstormed, some of it came down. So we took down most of it. And our neighbor's property, like, it drops down quite a bit. And then they have their garden bed down below. So this fence at some point, or sorry, not this fence, the wall there, it is a retaining wall made of those railway ties, and it's not going to last forever, so that needs to be replaced. And will probably be replaced with the same material that the wall on the other side is, like those Allen block concrete blocks. So when that happens, they said that they would have to dig into our garden bed on our side, unfortunately. So that's something that's not going to happen this year, but at some point. And our neighbors have already planted up their garden bed below, so we don't want to, of course, wreck that. So it's not going to happen this year for sure. But at some point, that wooden wall is coming down and going to be replaced, which I think will be nice, because when you water, you are impacting the wood and it's rotting. But if it's Allen blocks, then you can water and it's just concrete, so it's not as damaging to it. And in this garden bed, we have a black pearl heuchera, and it's always done well. It's doing really well in this spot. Next to it is a Spanish lavender, which I did cut back fairly severely last year, and it had been neglected. And you can see there is a little bit of a hole in the middle, but I do think that once it kind of flushes out, that won't be very obvious. And then back here is a yew that I planted last year, which is just a clearance yew, and it's just its first year, so I don't expect much from it yet. Here, these beautiful foliage, silvery foliage. It's fuzzy. It kind of looks like lamb's ear, but it's actually rose campion. And I love rose campion because it's got such a vibrant, beautiful color. And when it's not in bloom, it still looks really good, like this kind of lamb's ear type plant. And here we have a very fine wine weigela, which I'm not impressed with. I'm not happy with. It doesn't bloom. It's just not a very good plant. And I believe Proved Winners discontinued it, so I think they realized that too. So that's probably going to come out. And then just going along, you can see I have so much weeding to do in this garden bed. I've got a lot of self-sown plants, so that's why the weeds are so bad, because I did want the self-seeders to kind of get hold. But yeah, I have to kind of take care of this mess here. This is an Zephyrine Druin rose, which has this one shoot popping up the back, taller than the others. But behind there, I've got all types of tulips planted. So yes, I don't know if I should cut off this shoot or kind of leave it. Probably will cut it down, but we'll see. And one of my projects this year is I do want to get this garden bed edged properly. Here I have some of the Canterbury bells that I winter sowed, and then popped in this bed because I wasn't really sure where to put them, but they're biennial, and I've put that in there, so hopefully they bloom this year. Behind there, I've got another Weigela, or a 9-bark. No, actually, I think it is a 9-bark. And that one I wasn't expecting to survive. When I dug it out, I just had barely any kind of roots, and it was tough to dig out, so that's why it was so small. But it looks like it has some growth on it, so we'll see. In front of it, what is looking great is this Alnwick rose. It's a David Austin rose. I bought it from someone who had it in a container, and I amended the soil. I kept make sure to mulch it really well, and it looks like it just came through winter really well. So probably needs fertilizer, but other than that, I'm looking forward to seeing it bloom. On this trellis, I do have a clematis that is coming back. I can't remember what variety it is, but I purposely left that post up so I could put a climber on that post, so that's why that's there. I do have this elderberry, which also I was not expecting to survive. Again, it was kind of the same situation where there was barely any roots to it, but it's not looking great, but it is surviving. On this trellis, it's a 3-sided trellis, and I have 3 different clematis climbing on that one. One of them is a Sweet Summer Love, and then I can't remember the other 2 right now, but basically I've got them staggered in different bloom times. Back here, so I have a Limelight Prime at the back in the corner there, which is leafing out and looking good. I did have some dwarf Pugster Blue butterfly bush on both sides of that, which did not survive. I had to pull those. They didn't make it. I do not recommend that plant. That plant did not do well anywhere in my garden. I had 3 of them in the front yard, also didn't make it. I had 2 of them back here, didn't make it, and I have no idea why, but yeah, they didn't do well. So I'm definitely not going to be putting any more butterfly bush in my garden. And I have some peonies in the front and some alliums. And then this one I'm pointing out, it's called a Baby Kim. So it's a proven winners plant, which is a small kind of baby version of the Miss Kim lilac. So I've got a few of those in the yard, and panning over, so this side of the yard is kind of a more shady area, and there is so much work to be done. It is full of weeds. Those strappy foliage you see, I believe those are the either Gladiator or Globe Master alliums, whichever ones are smaller, I believe. And on this trellis, one success story is the Viva Pulmonaria clematis. It's a proven winners type, and you can see it's already climbing up. It's already doing really well, and I train it up the wall, and it puts on these beautiful pink blooms, really big blooms, and it's been there for a few years and survived. So I'm very happy with this plant, and I would definitely buy more of those. I have Stilby, I have Lady's Mantle. Here in this garden bed, so you can see my tree is leaning. I'm not really sure how to fix that because it is so heavy and difficult to move, and I don't want to damage it. But this is a lilac on standard. It is a Korean dwarf lilac on standard, and it's been in here for a few years, and it's underplanted with these gorgeous daffodils. I had lots of tulips in here, and they came back pretty reliably for 2 years, but this is kind of the 3rd year, and only one of them has come back, that beautiful purple one there. But the daffodils are just gorgeous. They are kind of multiple blooms on one stem. So isn't that lovely? I can't remember what they're called, but there's 3 blooms on this one stalk here. Also have this like yellow one, which is just so dainty and delicate. I just love it. It's more of a orange center. So pretty. I love these. I hope these kind of spread out in this garden bed. This is a feverfew, which is self-seeded there. And here is another clematis I have. This is another favorite. This is called the Vagabond. I love this one. It has the most beautiful purple blooms, and usually I train it up this lilac tree, which works out well because by that time the lilacs are out of bloom, and you can see all these buds. All these are buds for the lilac. It smells amazing. And here I'm showing you kind of my side yard. And there is a camellia here, which I had 2 of them. One of them didn't survive. This one is barely hanging on. It's a Taylor's Perfection camellia. Not looking the best. It hasn't looked very good since I planted it. You can see this bud is still on here. I have a bit of a bloom on this one here, just starting out. And what usually happens is the buds form, and then for some reason they fall off the plant. which is very sad. But I'm going to give it a little bit longer because even though it doesn't look great, it's still hanging in. And at the very corner here, I have kind of an astilbe corner, different varieties of astilbe, which is quite interesting because in the winter you would think there's nothing here. Like it's just nothing but moss. And then all these astilbe come up and the foliage is looking really nice. So yeah, a lot of work to be done here. On this side, I have my kind of hydrangea lane here. So on this end, these are the older hydrangea that actually my sister planted. So I'm not really sure the variety. I'm trying to kind of train them over time to be the same height here because the one at the end was planted first and was much taller. So hopefully they bloom, and you can see they've got all this beautiful healthy green foliage on them. And in between here I've got some peonies because you can't have enough peonies. So I've got a couple of those popped in between. And this is a taller variety here of hydrangea. I think it's either onyx or flamingo, one of the two. And then of course more peony. And I do have a fern here that's come back. It's looking nice. And then I do have some heuchera, and you can see one of them did well and one of them did not. So I don't know if that's because of heaving and maybe it needs to be planted deeper, but that one, you can see all the new leaves on the top there. This is I think it's a firelight tidbit. It's putting on all kinds of new growth. This sajuga is taking off here and doing what it's supposed to do, which is supposed to be kind of suppressing the weeds and being a ground cover. And weeds are going through there, so I have to like kind of take care of that. This one always looks rough, and I'm always thinking, oh no, it didn't survive. But you can see at the base, it does have some new growth there. So yeah, I think the panicle ones are kind of later to come out. And then you can see that heuchera in the back. That one is really doing well. This one, not so good. And on this is my little lime hydrangea. And you can see it's got all the new growth on there, so that survived. That's doing well. And the ajuga underneath is doing its job. Here I have some phlox, and I have a sweet autumn clematis, which I train up this kind of trellis and up the post there. So that's doing well. I've got this boxwood in this container, and you can see I've got 4 boxwoods here in a row, and they're kind of in front of the posts, and they have their own little circular garden beds. And the ones at the back are looking really well. They have nice green color, and these ones kind of closer to me, these two, they have kind of this orangey bronze color. So I'm not sure what to do about that. I'm not sure if it's root rot, what's going on. So we'll see if I have to replace them. I do have the one in the pot that I could pull out and kind of replace one of them. So I'm not really sure what's going on with them. If maybe it's just winter bronzing and they will just need to be trimmed and kind of come out of it. But yeah, I'm not really sure. You can see from my lawn that there is a lot of moss in the yard. So, you know, there's a lot of cleanup to be done still. Like I have to kind of power wash the shed there and clean up the sidewalks with some power washing. I've got to put away these ladders, so tons to do. This circular garden bed, this is my Gertrude Jekyll rose, which is the focal point in this garden bed. And she is very thorny. And I didn't do any kind of pruning on her really. This winter I found it a little bit intimidating, so that's why I just have been avoiding it. And on either side I have mock orange Illuminati tower, which is leafed out, looking good. But yes, I don't know. They say to trim the rose when the forsythia is blooming, and forsythia have been blooming for a few weeks now and I haven't done it, so I don't know. It might be too late. Maybe not. Maybe I can still do it, and then the blooms will probably just be delayed, but yeah, it's a little bit intimidating. I have to kind of take out this trellis because clearly it did not need a trellis. But the reason I haven't done so is because I have some clematis growing up it. This is a beautiful variegated plant. I can't remember what it is, but the leaf structure is looking like delphinium, but it's variegated. Here's that clematis that is growing on this trellis. It is Guernsey cream, and you can see it already has buds. So it's a little bit tricky trying to remove that trellis right now, so I'm going to leave it. These 2 garden beds I put in last year, and they are what I call my coin slot garden beds. I have lilac trees, so dwarf lilac on standard on both beds. And this one is doing a little bit better than the other one. So you can see I've got them staked because we did get some windy days in the winter. So the one on the right is not doing as well. It kept leaning over, so I had to kind of restake it. And it's underplanted with echinacea. And actually, you know what happened when it was raining in the winter, that these got full of water, like just a pool of water, and it was there for a couple of days. So I didn't have very high hopes for this garden bed, for the plants in it to come back. In addition to the echinacea, I had some Graithwort Lithodaria, and it's not looking the best, but you know, there are some blooms on there, so maybe I just need to give it a cut back and then hopefully it'll flush back. You can see the moss in the garden bed, like that's how damp it gets. So I don't really mind the moss in the garden. It makes everything green. It's very soft, and you know, it's just a way of life here in the Pacific Northwest. But yeah, ending on this Gertrude Jekyll rose, that is where we'll leave it in the backyard garden tour. And maybe I will try to trim it. If I do, I'll show you the before and after. But thank you for watching. Really appreciate it.